I'm too old to ride with you.
That's
with
fine.
those
No,
ideas.
I mean, Napoleon.
Yeah, I'm not gonna crucify you over that.
Napoleon said anybody over 40 is untrusted. It shouldn't be trusted in the revolution. I think that's true. I think we just talked about this. There's a degree of separation between the older generation and the newer generation, and the issues that come along. I think you
Wouldn't
can
there be
read
a beauty
it
if it was just built upon? See, and that's what I see. Your generation just really attack. We talk about this all the time and good fun. I love this guy, so we can do this mutual respect. But I see you beating up some of the generations that have really laid a pretty good foundation, and it's up to each generation to build upon that. We're not doing it. Something's going to awry for sure because
boomers.
But okay, so let's say this. So your generation, okay, that's why I ask: are y'all just kind of a subgroup because your generation has introduced the DI?
Okay, maybe let me try to tackle it like this.
We've had kind of pre-conversation, so he's answering before I finish.
Let me try to tackle it like this. Not necessarily. I wouldn't even say it's
bank rollers. That's what we
do need bank rollers.
I guess that's what
we're working on it. If you know somebody, call them, send them our way.
Because your generation is $22,000 in debt average.
Yeah, and your generation is hoarding it all like a dragon and sitting in the cave on their pot of gold. I guess to answer your question is the reason it's my generation. I wouldn't even say it's my generation. I think it's going to be Generation Z. We're just kind of being these, I guess, leaders kind of knocking down the wall, right? The first one over the wall is the one's going to get shot. So I think we're going to take shots eventually.
So you know what a bold statement and what a true statement. And see, my generation is going to look at you and going to say, yeah, that is bold and does take that. Half of my generation will say, man, they're nuts. That's just.
They might say both at the same time.
I could say it both at the same time.
I guess to answer the question, let's just a general idea that has kind of been going on since I would say the 80s is this idea of not being able to reach across the aisle because of extremes. And so we've been forced into these extremes. Nobody is really in the center anymore. Anybody that says they're in the center, not y'all, I'm talking about us. Nobody is in the center anymore. I think there are some boomers that would claim to be moderate, and I think they're loosely moderate. But that moderation, that center piece doesn't exist in these generations.
Agree. I think that's obvious.
What's happening is you have the side of us on the right. You could call it the right. I mean, I don't even know if it falls under that anymore. Mm-hmm. And those on the left.
The lines are so blurred, aren't they? They're so blurred now.
And those on the left that they both want the system to crash because it's not working for anybody. And so that's what you're having. You're having this force of extremes. The question is who wins. Now, I mean, my circle probably isn't as big as it should be, or maybe not even the biggest on the right here. But I do think the right in general is making a push for that center to be destroyed. I know.
I think it resembles that. I do. I think there's a movement that is trying to destroy that, and rightfully so. Had another point that just one bad thing about being a baby boomer. These thoughts will leave you. maybe it'll come back.
We were talking about the hoarding of the wealth of the older generation. Is not only are they hoarding the wealth, it's being funded into 401ks and stuff like that it inevitably ends up in the hands of BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Fidelity, all of these companies that then take that money and fund it back into the stock market where they can gain control of other companies.
And lobbyists to control the political narrative.
And so what happens is we have an oligarchy that is living on the wealth of boomers, and it's destroying itself because of, I don't know, whatever. Nobody cares about the American people anymore. They only care about the shareholders. And so if the company is going to profit, they're going to profit in favor of the shareholders.
I see it libertarian. So that strikes a chord with a lot of folks, and where some would believe that that's gaining now. Do you think the libertarian concept is gaining, or do you think it's just getting knocked out?
I think it's done. It was gain. I do too. It was on a roll probably.
It's different now.
probably 20 to 10 years ago, 10, 20 years ago in that time
It ran
frame.
its course. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little greater subtopic than the Tea Party, so to
Well,
speak.
have you ever heard of the intellectual dark web?
Quit asking me questions because I say no to everything. And I'm
You ever heard of
ahead.
Sam Harris, Brett Eric Weinstein, All In Podcasts?
well, yeah.
Some of
Okay.
those guys. That's
For
the
the
same.
for the sake of conversation, yes.
Okay. Well, they're this group of atheists, if you will, atheist Jews that kind of push this idea of libertarianism of, do this. But that was 2013, 2014, and that's just kind of crashed. And now they kind of try to reinvent themselves as moderately right. And so they see which way the wind's blowing, and they are correct in that the wind is blowing this way. They're just kind of behind the curve because they have to kind of play this middle game, but because it's by their nature. But I would make the argument that libertarians are worse than communists.
That will continue. Do tell.
Well, libertarians remove themselves from policy. They remove themselves from any type of wielding of the state. And like we were talking about earlier,
They rebel against
this idea of
completely
colorblindness.
rebel against government.
Because you're colorblind doesn't make you morally good. All it does is remove you from the game and allow the other person to win. Libertarians do that in that they would be on the right and making most of the right decisions, yet they remove themselves from society and allow the ones making the wrong decisions, because they are in the majority in this aspect, to win out in the end and be able to wield the power.
You kind of see them as passive, is it?
Yes. And I think as everything gets crazier and crazier and crazier, you'll see a lot less libertarians, because they'll finally understand that we live in a society.
How crazy can we get? I see politicians. I mean, everything's shock value now. Everything is.
You
shock
want an
value.
answer to that? How
There's no
crazy can we get? I'll tell you-
Substance is leaving the building.
I'll tell you this. We're not at Weimar Germany yet. We're not at the peak degeneracy yet. And I would get some pushback on this, and I don't think we're even close. I think it could get so much worse. The problem is me and you don't have the imagination to get there. But there are people that do. And until we stop them from doing that, they're just going to keep on going.